just a quick heads up before we start, this is a re-upload. The original video ended up being demonetized unfairly. So I put up a poll asking if you wanted me to bring it back, and most of you said yes. So here's the challenge for you. I made a Sasha Colby deep dive that's over 35 minutes long. If this video hits 3,000 likes within the first 24 hours, I'll upload the Sasha video tomorrow instead of next week, which is when it's scheduled. So there you go. Without further ado, let's get into it.
That was fighting for gay rights, and people were killed.
Nobody was killed at Stonewall.
Nobody was killed?
This is footage of Bianca Del Rio hosting Mardi Gras in the year 1963. No, I'm just kidding. This is actually 2008. But judging by the video quality, you would think it was filmed over 100 years ago. Welcome everyone. Today, we're going to be covering a queen whose career is the pinnacle of what every drag artist wishes to even come close to achieving. Bianca is often looked at as this untouchable queen. She's polished, she's witty, and best of all, she keeps things professional 100% of the time. Except for when she's on Twitter, because that's a whole nother story. Yet what were some of the variables that led to Bianca finding so much success? Given that Bianca is one of the most loved winners to come out of the franchise, get ready to dive into her life and legacy and come out of it with a brand new appreciation for her. But before we start, this video is sponsored by Raycon. So I've been using Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic for a while now, and they just dropped an upgraded version with active noise cancellation. Honestly, it's exactly what I needed. I use mine all the time, editing, going for walks, allowing me to just focus on my music or podcast. And they've completely replaced my old earbuds. They stay in, they're super comfortable, no slipping, no ear fatigue, and the battery life is wild. 8 hours on one charge and up to 32 hours with the case. I've pretty much gone days without charging and didn't even notice. And yeah, they hold up against those way more expensive brands, but for half the price. They also have 3 sound modes depending on what you're listening to. An awareness mode for when you still want to hear what's going on around you, and the controls are super responsive. But the new noise cancellation, that's the real game changer. It actually blocks stuff out. Like, I missed a whole conversation happening next to me while editing, and I'm not even mad about it. If you've been looking for new earbuds that are solid, affordable, and actually built for daily use, go to buyraycon.com/GreenGay or click the link in the description to get 20% off your pair. That's buyraycon.com/GreenGay. Now, let's begin. Remember when Bianca made a joke in the season 6 roast challenge that her mom is Cuban and her dad is from Honduras? Well, she wasn't joking. In fact, she comes from a pretty big family, being the 4th out of 5 kids. When Bianca, or I guess her real name Roy Haylock, was born, she was the first boy among her siblings. Or at least that's what they thought. Sometimes it doesn't take rocket science to know when a family member is gay. And in the case of Bianca, she often behaved a lot more flamboyant than the boys around her, even doing his sister's makeup and hair every now and then. What's interesting is that before finding her love for drag, one of the preludes to getting there was the talent she displayed when it came to being a seamstress, making clothes of all different types of styles. I mean, in 1993, the same year that RuPaul had her breakthrough hit with Supermodel of the World, at just the tender age of 17, Bianca received her first ever award for costume design for the outfit she made for a play called Snow Queen. It's kind of hard to imagine that Bianca was at one point just a young gay kid with her whole life ahead of her, because really, I just sort of assumed that from the moment Bianca was born, she already had the voice of a 37-year-old man in a wig. Regardless, teenage Bianca knew she was good at sewing, largely thanks to Gretna West Jefferson High School that allowed her to find out about what would become a lifelong passion. To be fair though, being a gay teenager in the early 90s compared to being a gay teenager today was very different. Despite this, even though Bianca knew she was more feminine than the other boys, it was never something that bothered her. In fact, she was always really comfortable in her own skin, which is probably why even at such a young age, she was finding ways to flourish. In a sense, she was fearless, which is why for most of her life, people would find her intimidating. After graduating from high school, Bianca was offered a last-minute job by her good friend Becky Allen, who was working in the theater industry of New Orleans at the time. The issue was that Becky was a part of a play called Graham's Nighttime Naughties, but one of the representatives ended up dropping out last minute, leaving the production without a costume designer. So, after Bianca got on board, she actually impressed Becky Allen by sewing up costumes for every character in the play in just 1 week. After this, Bianca moved to New York City for the first time, trying to follow her dreams of getting into the theater world. But after about 9 months of working selling shoes at Bloomingdale, it became clear that things weren't going to be panning out the way she expected. So she moved back to New Orleans. Lucky for her though, within about a year, Becky Allen, who was still living in New York City, asked Bianca to move back since she was in need of a roommate. It's after this point that they'd go on to live together for the next 8 years. They helped build each other up. Becky got Bianca some good gigs making outfits, allowing her to subsequently skyrocket as a costume designer. While I was doing research for this video, I was really surprised to learn about the strong bond that Bianca had with Becky, and just how influential their connection was to the future of what Bianca's career would end up becoming. Along with that, it wasn't just about Bianca being a good friend. It was the unmistakable quality of her work when it came to producing outfits for different plays. In fact, within those 8 years of living together, Bianca pretty much made all the outfits for most of the shows that Becky was a part of. This would culminate when by the age of 27 in the year 2003, Bianca, or I guess Roy Haylock, was getting awards for her costume design and getting recognition from big entertainment companies too. So that's sort of the first part you need to understand about Bianca's career. It seemed like fate was gravitating her in the direction of the theater community, but Bianca's role in that world was to be behind the scenes, making costumes for those that needed it. So then, how does Roy Haylock end up becoming the Bianca Del Rio that we know today? Well, the origin story is a little bit flimsy. I've summed it up as best as I can from the interviews she's done over the years. While Bianca's first time in drag was in the year 1996, she wouldn't fully dive into it until about the year 1998. Everything happened sort of out of fluke. Becky Allen needed someone to fill in for a drag queen at a New Year's Eve show, so she asked Bianca to join her. And even though Bianca had gotten into drag before, she was still kind of reluctant to do it. Yet when she found out that she was going to be getting paid $1,200, she put on that dry wig as fast as she could so she could get that cash. Now, even though she wasn't taking drag all that seriously since she was making most of her money as a costume designer, slowly but surely, more and more opportunities would begin to come down the line. In fact, Bianca's drag shows started to get the attention of club promoters from around the country. This was a queen that was great at hosting events, even on a Tuesday night when there's barely any people sitting around the bar. Mind you, Bianca isn't known as a lip sync assassin, so to be able to carry your whole brand entirely on just your stage personality is a talent that many wish they could have too. Anyways, at one point in the early 2000s, Bianca was even offered a spot in Las Vegas to be a Cher impersonator. Yes, let me say that again. Bianca was offered a spot in Las Vegas to be a Cher impersonator. Oh, you know Chad Michaels is shaking right now. What I like about Bianca's drag career is that she never really had a busted era. I mean, the further back in time you go, drag queens didn't have the best makeup products available to them, but Bianca still managed to paint herself, style her wigs, and make herself outfits that gave her a really polished look. Which made sense. At this point, Bianca was working as a professional seamstress in New York City by creating garments for Broadway shows. So like, she was getting a lot of beneficial experience by being surrounded by all these high quality productions. What's kind of funny is that in an interview from 2004, Bianca described her drag persona as, quote, one part Bob Mackie, who is her idol, another part Don Rickles, whose stand-up routines have always made her laugh, and only a small sliver of RuPaul because she's, quote, not her cup of tea. I don't know, something about Bianca saying this over a whole decade before she'd compete and win RuPaul's Drag Race is interesting to me. And sort of funny too, since I doubt that she even remembers saying that. It's important to note that even in the early 2000s, Bianca had cemented herself as a very successful entertainer within the New York City drag scene, and as a costume designer for a lot of big productions. She had a crazy busy schedule. If she wasn't hosting some random drag show, then she'd be planning costumes for an upcoming play or flying to other cities like Atlanta to do her hosting duties there too. It's no surprise that with everything that the universe was giving back to her, that she'd end up allowing drag to remain a part of her life for the long-term future, staying in New York City till the late 2000s and deep into the early 2010s. There's even a mini documentary series from 2010 featuring some established queens from the New York City drag scene. It's a perfect time capsule of an era of drag before the boom of RuPaul's Drag Race. Granted, by the time they filmed this, season 2 of Drag Race was airing, but still, it's cool to see just how humble and simple the life of Bianca seemed back then.
I wish I had like a name that had a little bit more wit or comedy to it.
I feel the same way when I see your show.
Like, I love.
It was just her, some other crunchy queens, and nothing but laughs. In a sense, Bianca knew the drag wouldn't be lasting forever, but as to what the next step in her life would be, that wasn't exactly clear. Let me explain. When RuPaul's Drag Race began airing in 2009, not all of the established drag queens were interested in taking part of it. I mean, some of these queens had even known and worked with RuPaul throughout the years in New York or in West Hollywood. So to a lot of them, why would they go be judged by RuPaul? Regardless, every year, the show got more popular, and bigger names from the scene started heading in to compete. So it began to expand the options producers had in selecting legendary contestants. Given that Bianca had solidified herself as a full-time queen in the city, it wasn't like she was in a desperate need for new exposure. So she didn't bother to audition for RuPaul's Drag Race at all, even though she had queens like Lady Bunny who told Bianca that she'd be a really good fit for the show. Ultimately, her mind wouldn't change until what I considered to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Bianca's initial hesitation about competing on RuPaul's Drag Race was that maybe she was a little bit too old. She also wasn't known for being an amazing lip syncer either. It was only after seeing some of her friends get on over the years, and specifically Jinx Monsoon's run, that would inspire her to start entertaining the idea of maybe competing too. So here's the gap. In 2013, Bianca was hosting the viewing party for the season 5 finale where Jinx Monsoon would end up winning the crown. Yet backstage, Bianca overheard two other Ru girls gossiping to each other and laughing about how Bianca shouldn't even be hosting the event since she's never even been on RuPaul's Drag Race.
I was like, I ain't doing that show. I ain't doing that show. And then I saw three untalented Willem, Sharon Needles, and another one who shall remain nameless. Oh, because they're douchebags. So let me set the scene. No, you can like them, girl. Someone has to. They need a booking right now, so like them. Years ago, about 2 years ago, I was in New York and I was lucky enough to get to host the events. I got to host the premiere parties and the finale party. And the weird thing was, I've done drag a long time, and the great thing is that you get to work with a bunch of other queens. But no matter what you do on stage is all fine and dandy. But when you're backstage, we're all just a bunch of fucking clown in wigs. Well, these two... Anyway, there were two nasty... And I overheard them saying, well, why is she here? She's nobody. And oh yeah, bitch, it was fighting words. So, I did exactly what any reputable would do. I took a sip of my drink, then drank all of it, and then turned around and said, fuck you, nasty. The only reason why I'm here is like you can talk. So I said to myself, self, next audition round, let's do it. And I did the show, and now they're my best friend because we're all sisters, right?
Naturally, Bianca Del Rio's audition tape for season 6, while simple in presentation, was perfect in the way it showcased the wit of her humor. I also assume that casting producers already knew who Bianca was within the New York City drag scene. Yet I'm not sure they expected her to storm the franchise the way she'd end up doing. One of the requirements after officially being cast on season 6 was that each contestant was assigned one of RuPaul's songs, and they'd have to make their own cover and music video for it. I guess it was meant to showcase more of the personality of each of the queens, because they were all released shortly before the premiere of the season, sometimes even including clips from their audition tape right after. On January 28th, 2014, just about a month before season 6 began airing, World of Wonder released the CoverGirl series. This time it was Bianca's turn, that had to cover Click Clack Make That Money by RuPaul. I love this video because you can really see why Bianca wouldn't go on to make more music.
Peanut butter head, peanut butter head, peanut butter head.
On the other hand, in the promo trailer for this season, we see Bianca in a library tearing pages of a book that says Reading to Filth, which is exactly what she would go on to do to everyone else in the competition. It's hard to imagine what season 6 would have been without Bianca because she showed so many different layers about her that made it so that every episode you were finding out something new. But best of all, it never felt forced. Every part about her felt genuine, from the way she'd call out queens like Laganja or Gia, the shade she'd throw against queens that came for her, or just the overall perspective that she'd share in regards to living her life in drag. There's even a moment she has during a one-on-one with RuPaul about midway through the season, where Ru asked why she was helping the other queens during some of the challenges, and Bianca's response was that she didn't view them as a threat. What many would consider a one-off comment revealed a lot more about who she was at her core. Bianca was so confident in her own skills that she didn't need to second guess helping out the other queens, because no matter what, she knew she was going to be doing better than them anyways. On the season, Bianca goes on to win a total of 3 maxi challenges: the design challenge on the split premiere of episode 2, the stand-up challenge on episode 8, and the makeover challenge of episode 10. She had by far the best track record of all 3 finalists. Adore Delano had 3 challenge wins too, but she had more of an upwards trajectory considering she was up for elimination 2 times in a row, and overall didn't have as fluid as a run as Bianca did. What made the crowning of Bianca so special is just how much it transcended even beyond the target demographic of Drag Race. I mean, this was a queen whose comedic approach through her funny sound bites had even straight dads at home laughing along to the TV. It's part of why her career as a stand-up comedian is still to this day flourishing. As for the edit she got on season 6, many consider it to be the ultimate winner storyline. She came into the competition, slayed almost every single challenge, making it to the finale never having landed in the bottom 2. Yet it was also her wisdom that was one of the qualities that people would remember from her. Similar to what Sasha Colby would represent when she would win season 15 almost a decade later. Originally, Bianca was planning on retiring from drag at the age of 40, but after doing Drag Race, it opened a new avenue of opportunities for her that it was hard to just stop everything in its tracks. Plus, Bianca's personality is easy to market to a general audience. Even people that aren't Drag Race fans have warmed up to Bianca just because of how funny she is and the energy she brings into a room. After officially winning RuPaul's Drag Race season 6 on May 19th, 2014, she embarked on breaking down barriers for what future queens would be able to do with their reigns. Because listen, Bianca hit the ground running. Within the next couple of months, she went on to do a lot of different projects. One of the first ones being getting interviewed by comedian Joan Rivers, who was someone that Bianca had looked up to when she was growing up. It's also important to note that in the 2014-2015 era of Drag Race, while queens were touring around the whole country, in terms of mega group tours such as today's Work the World, the only big one back then was the Battle of the Seasons tour, often hosted by Michelle Visage. Bianca would partake in the Battle of the Seasons every now and then, but she'd also open the doors for what comedy queens would be able to do with their newfound exposure. And here's why. In the summer of 2014, Bianca announced her first solo comedy tour titled Bianca's Rolodex of Hate, a reference to one of the walkthroughs on season 6 when RuPaul asked Bianca where she got all her wit from, and Bianca said she keeps a mental Rolodex of hateful things, so that if someone comes for her, she just needs to go through all the many insults in her mind and pinpoint which one is the perfect one for a rebuttal. Up until that point, the RuGirls that were going on tour tended to just do the normal drag queen performances that people had grown to love, or they'd sing some of their original songs. But to have a queen that was just going to be doing a stand-up comedy routine and touring the world with it made it all the more impressive when it became a huge success, prompting future comedy queens to follow in her footsteps. By June 2015, the season 7 finale aired where Violet Chachki would end up winning. But before that, we got to see Bianca walk on stage in her step-down look, covered in glitter from head to toe, fingernail to eyelashes, and crevice to crevice. This was a gag because it was the first time we really saw Bianca go outside of the box by giving us a more conceptual look. The fanbase had also made an inside joke over the fact that most of Bianca's runways on season 6 was just the same dress pattern in different colors. So this was an opportunity for her to pass on the crown, but do it with a bang. A fun fact is that she had actually done the look years prior, but not to the same extent. Apparently there was some people that told her the look might be too extra of a thing to do, but she ended up doing it anyways. That being said, the cleanup process after the night was done was a huge mess. There was glitter all over the hotel room, and in the bathtub too. So whoever the poor maid was that had to clean up the room after Bianca left must have been pissed. To top it off, World of Wonder, who during this time period was focusing on building their YouTube channel, started a new mini-series with Bianca called Really Queen, where each episode she would be given a certain queen as a topic, and Bianca would react to some of her moments on the franchise. It was the pinnacle of what you'd come to expect from Bianca's sound bites to be like, and it even created some one-sided beef when she reacted to Venus Delight. But if you want to hear more about this drama, you can watch this video. It'll be linked to the description. Now, even though it was easy to fall in love with Bianca, it didn't mean that she was able to go about life without encountering any drama. At her core, Bianca is a stand-up comedian. This means that a lot of her joke material comes from making fun of other people or events that are relevant to the general public. If you go online, there's some videos that are within the lore of long-term fans, which I consider to be a must-watch for some of the newer fans. And in this case, Bianca owning a heckler that tried to ruin one of her shows during the summer of 2014 is one that's so hard to get tired of watching.
What's your name?
The Latino community pays your bills, baby.
I wish, you know what I wish? The Latino community would pay their own bills. doing just now? You think you're telling me a story? I know what the I'm doing. I'm a man in a wig who's done this for 18 years. Yes, I have a microphone now, and I know you have a microphone tomorrow when you run in that drive-thru. What I want you to know.
All these videos are going to be linked in the description, so you can check them out after you're done watching this one. When it really comes down to it, there's a certain amount of humility that Bianca has expressed throughout her years in the public eye, emphasizing the importance of successful Ru girls to be mindful about not growing too much of an ego just because you're the new hot celebrity in town. It reverberates back to what she said in the Untucked for the very first episode she competed on in season 6, where she told Magnolia Crawford, who was behaving sort of like a brat, that it's one thing to play the role of a bitch on stage, but that behind the scenes you need to behave in a professional manner. Thus, by the time 2015 was over, Bianca had stepped down as the current reigning queen of the franchise, solidified one of the best reigns from a winner, and was now going to be paving the way for her own path into the future. With that, we saw how right after her reign ended, Bianca began to seek out more avenues where she would be able to spread more of her hate. Which brings us to the movie series that she starred in titled Hurricane Bianca. It's unheard of nowadays for one of the recent winners of Drag Race to come out with a fully produced movie that they both starred in and helped finance. But for Bianca, this was something she had been planning even before she was given the platform of RuPaul's Drag Race. For context, Matt Kugelman, the writer and director of the films, was a longtime friend of Bianca's for over a decade. There's even YouTube videos uploaded throughout the 2000s of them doing random skits together. So the idea of them one day making a movie together was always up in the air. But given how big of a production it would entail, it would take a while before they even came close to bringing it to fruition. Shortly before Bianca went to go film season 6, they had actually started a crowdfunding campaign to be able to produce the movie. Ultimately, after the airing of all the episodes, a lot of people ended up donating, finally making it possible for them to achieve one of their lifelong dreams. In July 2015, they officially began filming for Hurricane Bianca. From this point on, it would take just 3 weeks to film the whole thing. Plus, given the global fanbase that Bianca now had thanks to Drag Race, it really did add layers to every step of the process. On June 3rd, 2016, Bianca completed yet another milestone in her career with the official premiere of Hurricane Bianca. She even had a red carpet event where a bunch of popular Ru girls attended, including the cast of the film itself. At the time, it was really cool to see how some of the big names were trying to expand past just the world of RuPaul's Drag Race, and having a movie that was starred and produced by a drag queen was a good way to sell it. Keep in mind that in terms of popular media, Ru girls weren't yet receiving the huge opportunities that they get now. So it's as if we were seeing the cracks before everything shattered and the sky truly became the limit for what drag queens could do in mainstream media. When it came to the movie itself, the amount of cameos that we got from fellow Ru girls really helped make it a more enjoyable experience, since some of them actually impressed with their acting skills, while others, it was funny to see them struggle as if they were doing a maxi challenge on Drag Race. Even RuPaul made a little cameo in the movie too. As for the plot, it was pretty straightforward. Bianca plays the role of this nerdy gay school teacher that moves to a very conservative city where she ends up getting fired just for being gay. So she returns disguised as Bianca Del Rio to exact her revenge on the people responsible for getting her fired for such an unfair reason. While there's some areas of the movie that I enjoyed more than others, the overall experience, momentum, and a cartoonish approach that they make really made for a fun watch, especially not knowing at all what to expect from a movie starring Bianca Del Rio. The movie also released in 2016, which was the height of Donald Trump campaigning for his first presidential run that he'd go on to win later that year. It was in the middle of all the hateful politics that Bianca and Matt, the writer of the film, felt more of a need to spread awareness over the discriminatory laws that still exist in a lot of red states, where employers are allowed to fire people just based on their sexual orientation. Regardless, Hurricane Bianca went on to be decently successful, even ending up on streaming platforms like Netflix for a couple years. So, just like anything that does well, Bianca decided to greenlight an official sequel, so Matt Kugelman got to writing it right away. Flash forward to May 18th, 2018, the official sequel was released titled Hurricane Bianca 2 to Russia with Hate. Now, usually it's an unwritten rule that most of the time the sequel to a movie will never be better than the original, and in this case, the sequel to Hurricane Bianca really was a disappointment. Granted, the first movie wasn't exactly a masterpiece, but it did succeed in delivering what it set out to do. I felt that by the end of it, I had been educated a lot more on a political issue affecting gay people in conservative states of America, but we also got a consistent rush of witty jokes, funny sketches, good drag, and things flowed more naturally. Yet one of the good things about the sequel was not just the clear jump in production budget, but also the decision to cast Katya as one of the important characters. Listen, I watched both of these movies with my parents, and the way they were cracking up anytime Katya was saying some random line in one of her scenes proved that the movie did succeed in garnering the love of a larger fan base. If there's one thing I learned from the sequel is that A, Bianca had a great chemistry with Katya, and B, I wish they would have focused more on that rather than some of the other characters that dominated the screen time. Don't get me wrong, if you're a Bianca fan, be sure to check out both of these movies, especially the first one. And special shout out to Matt Kugelman for bringing his lifelong idea to life. You really did create a piece of drag history, and you deserve recognition for that. But anyways, by the beginning of 2020, shortly before the lockdowns of the COVID-19 pandemic, Bianca had gone on 4 different solo stand-up comedy tours that sold out venues internationally. This included the 2014 Rolodex of Hate tour, the 2016 Not Today Satan tour, the 2017 Blame It on Bianca Del Rio tour, and the 2019 It's Just Your Joke tour. Naturally, with the pandemic, there was a sudden halt that was put on events like this because of social distancing regulations. But in a sense, everyone knew and kind of feared that by the time the pandemic was over, it would be a brand new era in the drag world. Not all the queens that were super successful before 2020 were going to be flourishing after the pandemic was done, especially with new seasons airing internationally. Regardless, in late 2021, Bianca embarked on her 5th stand-up show titled The Unsanitized Tour. Currently this year, Bianca is doing her latest show called Dead Inside Tour, where she's been doing like 3 cities a week sometimes. To put it into perspective, in a matter of 10 years since winning season 6 in 2014, Bianca has done a total of 6 international stand-up comedy tours. In regards to the 2024 Dead Inside Tour that she's currently on, I think it's her craziest and most ambitious venture yet. You don't need to be a fan of Drag Race or drag to like Bianca, and that's the beauty of going to see her. As you know, Bianca has consistently said that she's not interested in returning to compete on an all-winner season. And honestly, why would she? She's now at the level where her legendary status far exceeds her time on season 6. If anything, top with the fact that Bianca has hosted her fair share of pit stop seasons too, a lot of people in the fan base that haven't even watched the older seasons already correlate her brand with being one of the funniest comedy queens in not just the drag world, but even among modern comedians in pop culture. Like, I'm sorry, but Bianca Del Rio can do anything. I consider her to be essentially the ultimate winner that the show has ever had. It makes me really happy to see her still flourishing even today. So if you enjoyed watching this, please make sure to comment below, what is it about Bianca Del Rio that you think makes her so special? Thanks again to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to head to buyraycon.com/GreenGay or click the link in the description to get 20% off your pair and support the channel in the process. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons. In the Elite Pink Squad, we have Matthew Burns, Gay Uncle, Poppers Alberta, Sari Tish, Natasha DeLeon, Las Potitas, and Cool Gal Nan. And in the Green Squad, we have Azure, Cayman Rider Furry, Edgar Allan Pup, The Only Sean, IJS, Not a Punch, But a Keek, Jack Beck, Aaron W, Captain Chaos, Bashir with the Good Beard, Galeria Gomez, Dea, Sarah G, Scarlet Rose, Boiled Peanut, Kimberly Marin, Max Whale, and last but not least, Olivia Marr. If you'd like to see your name on the screen, you can support me on Patreon. The link will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like this video, and comment below and reply to people's comments to help me out with the algorithm, and I'll see you guys next time.